introductory meditation. I just wanted to say that I met Tatum many years ago when she joined a doula training, and then she accompanied me to births and to antenatal meetings and so on with clients, because I had this plan to make a movie. And in fact, I found a producer in Hollywood who was really keen to kind of do a whole kind of, I think it was a TV series eventually and so on. And so it never eventually came to anything, but Tate and I did spend an enormous amount of time together, having a really lovely time. And then she eventually trained in the soul integration work with me as well, and has been doing that work for many years now. Tate, how long now? Can you
Hear
speak?
me? Can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. I've been doing it on and off, but um, I'm just making sure it's still good with
Yeah.
sound. Yes. Um, but really focusing a lot now in the past few years. So when I traveled a bit and had my two children, um, and really, yeah, I suppose through birthing my own children, unlocked this recognition of how much we can connect with the soul of the incoming baby, and how much we can kind of be really caught in the busyness of the world. And my two births very much reflected that, and through no loving one child more than the other, and then going to Robin to do the doula training, and then in that doula training realizing that yeah, there was so much more to uncover here than just how to support physically mothers with the incoming soul, and actually working in these outer fields. And my 10 years of working in the film industry then linked us to this movie.
But how long ago did you do the soul integration training? That's what
So
I'm trying to remember.
yeah, so we did the training, and of course the training is, I mean, it must have been, it was over maybe 3 years, right?
Yeah.
It did,
Yeah.
we did one module every year, and I think it must have been about 8, 10 years ago then
Okay.
that we
But
started.
I thought it was longer ago than that. That's funny. Okay.
Maybe I'm also quite bad with that, but yeah, but that journey is in itself is such a it's such a process, because you're not just working with soul babies, you're actually doing all of the, like, kind of the other link to this work, which is the soul integration. So that's the process work we do within ourselves, and that is such a, yeah, incredible experience to process. And during those sessions you can kind of go back. I went back into my own vitro experiences, which have been instrumental in kind of linking my own birth and recognizing how we kind of repeat patterns if we don't recognize the patterns in
Yeah.
our lives, our children.
Thank you. So let's start with the meditation, and then we
Yes.
can continue into the soul connection and soul babies discussion and so on. So we always, for those of you who haven't been on these webinars before, begin with a centering meditation. It's fairly short, like 5 to 10 minutes probably. Um, and so what I would like you, and it's really something just to bring us into a space where we all feel the connection to one another in the circle, and kind of drop into a place of presence, I guess, so that we connect in a deeper way during the webinar, because it is an interactive space where we all meet together, and it's open for questions and stories and comments and stuff like that. So just making yourselves comfortable and closing your eyes if that feels valid to you. And I might invite Tatum to add a couple of things into the meditation as well. We'll just see how it goes. Okay. So taking a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, really sinking into your body and noticing how present you've been with it today. Maybe today is quite a new early start to the day, but just how much have you actually been aware of your body during the day today? And as you breathe in and out, sort of greeting it and going, oh, hi. I need to recognize for myself that maybe I haven't seen it in quite this um, way of really noticing how it is for a couple of hours at least. And by noticing it, what I mean is really getting a feeling, a felt sense of it. And so the sense of our bodies we experience through the senses. So what is it that you hear? What is it that you feel on your skin? How does the air feel on your skin? What does the weight of your body feel like as it sits or leans back into whatever it is that is supporting you? And then as you bring your awareness to the sounds, notice not only the sound of my voice and the sounds that are obvious in your particular environment, but notice also the subtle sounds. Because when we're tapping into what it is to be present, we start really becoming aware of the things that are normally kind of on the periphery of our awareness. We don't generally notice them. So, what are the sounds in the distance? What is the sound of your breathing? And then feel the breath moving all the way down into the belly so that you're breathing with your full diaphragmatic breathing, belly moving out on the in breath, sinking back towards the spine on the out breath. And becoming aware for a moment of the fact that we are here as a physical expression. We can experience being here through our physical senses. We experience being here through the emotions that we are aware of carrying at this moment. And they are held in the body, and we also experience them physically as well. So we might experience anxiety as a tension in the body, for instance, or we can feel calm as an expanded sense of relaxation. So noticing the emotional field as it is right now. Noticing the thoughts that pass by like clouds in the sky, without attaching to them and following them off out of the present moment. And then noticing that kind of sense of your divine essence or higher self, that part of you that is always present and often outside of our awareness or beneath our awareness. that quality of being that is unconditionally loving and deeply wise and always aware of everything that has happened to us from the earliest moment in history to everything that will be happening in the future. It's that part of us that holds us as a witness, or that witnesses us. And just take a moment to really feel into this expanded sense of self that includes an awareness of our own divinity. And imagine for a moment this divinity really recognizing us, seeing us, and loving us, because of course it cannot not love us. So feel for a moment, feel loved by it. Just notice how that feels in your body as an experience, as a felt sense. And that it witnesses you without judgment, that everything about you is okay just the way it is. And that within its presence, you are safe, because on a soul level, you are always safe. And that whether you're aware of it or not, it is always here. Just breathe into that for a moment. And then I'm going to invite Tatum, with the sound of the bell, to add something to this meditation, just a short few sentences to bring her presence into the meditation. I can't hear you, Tate. Are you speaking?
I am.
Okay, we didn't get anything of that. So,
From this place of witnessing your being, just gently landing yourself.
you're going to have to speak up, Tate.
I can't meditate and shout at the same time. Again.
We can try meditating and shouting simultaneously. It's a very fine new way to meditate.
I think my meditation is silent. I think my
Okay.
meditation is silent. I think you landed us so beautifully where we were.
Okay, we're having a laughing meditation. That's okay too. All right, so just breathing. Thank you for bringing your silence into the space. And then just breathing deeply a couple more times. And I'm going to end with the sound of 3 gongs, and just allow yourself to really listen to, like, to be able to just pause and really hear the sound of the gong without letting yourself be distracted. Just stay with the sound with 3 gongs. And then quietly in your own time, when you're ready, coming back to the room, opening your eyes. Okay. So I think what I would love to do, just to carry on from here, is I'd like to share. I'm not sure if any of you have seen it before. I don't think so. But when Tatum and I were doing the filming part of my career, certainly the only filming part of my career, we did end up, or I ended up making a 2.5 minute clip for the Hollywood producer, I guess, um, called Birth Symphony, and or the Symphony of the Incoming Soul, or something like that. And I'm going to share it now because it's got all of Tatum's film, or
Camera roll.
lots of clips
Camera.
from Tate in it, and it's really rather lovely. So let me just find it. There we go. Um, share.
I come from far away, further than your wildest imaginings. I am called to you, and in the calling, my soul weaves itself into the unique symphony that is me, into the curled up fetus that will become my home. In ancient times, people would listen to the whisper of the wind and the silence of the land until they heard my song, and they would call me to them. The birth keepers would sing my song to me on my journey into the world, and I would land softly in the welcoming cushion of my mother's belly, where her breasts smelled like home. But in these times, I come crashing to earth, burning at the bright lights, torn away from my mother before I have fully entered my tiny body. When life is violent, birth is violent, and so I anchor violence in my awareness. I become part of the violence that is our world. It is a spiral of discontent. Soften birth and you soften life. Slow down and you begin to care. Find your own soul symphony. Then you will begin to hear my song. Here I begin. Here I begin.
So, um, I guess in a way, it speaks quite a bit about what soul babies mean. Like, if we can find ways to really connect with the incoming souls of the babies, mm, so that they are held during birth in a different kind of way, through the kind of awareness of their parents and so on. It actually kind of changes their experience of birth. And when they are met on a soul level at birth, it changes their experience of life, but it also helps to change the collective the collective consciousness, kind of one birth at a time. And the more soulful they are, it's almost like the bigger the impact. The deeper or higher we go on a soul level, the more profound the impact into the collective consciousness. And so, whenever we're doing meditations or deep connections with our soul selves or the souls of the babies and so on, we actually are, it's reverberating out from us into this kind of quality of who we are as humans. That thing about a butterfly flaps its wings on one side of the ocean and a thunderclap is heard on the other. There's something quite profound in that, actually. So before we go on, Ted, do you want to sort of reflect on that piece? And do you remember like those clips and so on?
Yeah, I mean, I think you grabbed footage. Clearly, we weren't right inside the womb with the cameras, but
No,
yeah,
there
but
was
it was
other footage as well. Yeah.
but such an incredible journey to witness actually you working, because I got to witness you in session, which is quite yeah, just a special place to be. And they were just incredible people that were so up for this journey. That was
Mm,
the most profound thing. The people who were drawn to it, the births weren't all their desired outcome, but there was so much healing that was taking place within the field of that film. And there were some really incredible parents that were willing to expose this very sacred journey because they knew that magic was going to happen, regardless of whether it was caught on film or not. It was part of a process that was bigger than all of us, actually, um, and impacted the field in that butterfly effect.
Y- I'm so aware as you're talking about how, and just remembering now how actually the reason why the whole movie thing didn't eventually kind of come to into fruition was because I think that you and I both recognized how bringing a camera into the room, that no matter how extraordinary the person is who's actually holding the camera and so on, it does introduce a different element into a very, very private space indeed.
Yes,
And that it felt kind of that it was more of an intrusion than we expected, I think. What do you think
yeah,
about that?
yeah. I think it was. It was a difficult place to be with the camera because it was. I think cameras in general change the field a lot for whatever's happening. It just brings another element in, and I think there are times where that can work, and there are times where it, it's it, it isn't going to work. And I know that with I think the most profound births, we never got the filming of those births.
Mm,
That was
mm,
the fascinating part,
mm.
and there was honor in that. And even though the sessions were recorded and there was a lot of magic recorded, and even in doing a session, I wonder how it would be to be filmed during a session.
I think we did film a session. We filmed one or two sessions,
We
I remember
filmed a
we
few
did.
sessions as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
But yeah, I think we were working as a team, and I think the lens there, it was also kind of even, dare I say, and you were right, it was long ago, um, longer than 8 years. It was, I'm
Mm,
thinking now, it was about 12 years. And I think even it hadn't blown up as much as we are as cameras, and how we are so overstimulated in the visual department. It wasn't quite there yet, if I
mm.
remember. So it was the early days of it. Does it make sense what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
feels like there's so much more media, there's so many more films going on, and um, yeah, and we were walking on sacred ground with um, trying to create something, and not all of it was necessary
Mm,
to be
mm.
filmed.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Um,
my journey.
So, the other thing that I'm actually just sort of moving away from the film thing and back to the soul babies now. And in order to, oh, the other thing I want to mention about that little clip was the voice of the narrator was Malika Ndlovu, who came onto the Soul Babies webinars, oh gosh, early this year. Martha, I think you might have been present when she was my guest. So yeah, that was her voice as well. But anyway, coming back to just the sort of straightforward connection to the babies and so on, and what Tatum and my experiences have been around that, before we open it up for questions from you guys and see where specifically it wants to go today, this kind of topic of connecting in. I mean, we have some ideas we'd like to share and so on, but I just want to share a story that somebody got hold of me today, that because she was so excited. So it was about a couple of hours before the webinar. And she got hold of me because she was terribly excited because of the outcome of work that she'd been doing, including the soul integration sessions and the soul baby connection sessions and so on. So she said this, my pregnancy journey began, it's a nice little story. And then she asked if she, I told her about the webinar and she said, oh, she'd love to just share a little piece of writing. She wasn't able to come. She wanted to come on and talk about it, but the timing didn't suit her. So my pregnancy journey began over 5 years ago when I was 33 years old. My mum passed away in March of 2021, and it became more important than ever to me to become a mother. If I couldn't have mine, then I wanted to be one. I wanted a daughter because I yearned for the mother-daughter connection that had so deeply nourished me. My mother was the emotional center of our family, so deeply wise, loving, and spiritual. She taught me and my sister a lot about angels, spirits, and how we could connect with the other side by asking our guides for help and then looking for the signs. Looking back now, I wonder if she was subconsciously preparing us for how we would communicate with her in spiritual form. I was single at the time and began the arduous process of IVF egg retrievals. I am a carrier of Fragile X, which is a genetic problem that she has, which caused me to have a low ovarian reserve. It was painful each cycle that yielded a few eggs. So I just want to actually kind of clarify here the reason why she was having to do the IVF, apart from the fact that she was on her own, was because they needed to do genetic testing on the eggs, because it wasn't going to be possible for it wouldn't have been appropriate to pass the genetic kind of Fragile X thing down into the next generation. It was painful each cycle that yielded a few eggs. I had it hanging over my head that at least half of these eggs also had the Fragile X gene. I always imagined my mother's hand over my ovaries, promising that she would make it happen despite the less favorable odds. I certainly feel she had a hand in me meeting my husband. The first egg retrieval was in July of 2021, and 5 days later, I met my husband in the most unpredictable of ways. When we finally fertilized our embryos, years later, we ended up with 2 viable embryos, unaffected by Fragile X. 1 girl, 1 boy. Of course, the girl was first to be transferred, exactly 5 years later to the day, on July the 21st, 2026, 2 weeks ago. I worked with Robin in preparing for the transfer and began connecting with my baby girl. What helped me the most was visualizing my mother holding her hand on the other side and preparing her to enter my womb. They were both excited, and as the time drew closer, I visualized a cord reaching out from my uterus that connected to her. When the moment of transfer occurred, I visualized my mother sending her through the cord, almost like a slide. The cord then enveloped my uterus like a glowing light, allowing her to grow. We had to wait 2 weeks to confirm if she nested inside of me. Every time I questioned whether or not the baby was there, it was as if the baby would not entertain any doubt from me. She wouldn't offer reassurance like, I'm here, just simply wouldn't engage. Robin helped me to see that when I doubt, I lose access to her. I also heard my mother's voice say, don't forget that I'm here and I'm helping you. This morning, we received confirmation from my blood work that I am pregnant and the hormone levels are strong. There is life inside of me. That was today. And so uh, she just felt that sharing it would somehow inspire other people to really recognize how somehow doing soul work is tremendous in the way that it really connects us to something deep that honestly has a profound impact in our physical everyday life and kind of can change outcomes in things like I mean, I've seen it many times in terms of conception and so on, and how really beneficial it is. But it was a lovely message to receive today. So does anybody have any questions or comments about that, or stories about their own journeys that they would like to share before we go on? Yeshvika.
Hi, Robin. Hi, everyone. I was just very moved by that story that was shared. I think it's like, for me personally, this profound knowing that I have in myself, and then just I think it also speaks to the video and around maybe how we live right now takes us so far away from that. So just hearing a story like the one shared just grounds me back. And even in the meditation, and I'm just thinking out loud, and you know me, Robin, from the other sessions, I kind of speak and whatever comes out, it comes out.
Mm.
But what's like, I feel like I'm being called to say as well is, I mean, just in my faith and value structure and belief system, that stillness and that oneness, we call it Shiv, and witnessing, and you know, whatever your value structure may be, it just, even in the meditation that was now, like, it just wasn't by accident, the fact that there was the silence and how important silence actually is, and that silence has vibrational frequency. And I'm getting like goosebumps saying that, because I constantly need to be reminded. Yeah, and I definitely have my own personal journey around freezing my eggs, and I don't want to get too into that now, because I do believe in like privacy and just keeping things just a little bit more, let me say, in that gestational like cocoon for a little bit longer before I share that. But it's always reassuring when I hear these stories and like of other people experiencing it, because it, like, we're not alone in it. And I feel like when more people speak and share, then no matter like the chaos or noise that's going on, it just really grounds you back in again. Like, if I'm making any sense in that, but that's how I feel.
Thank you so much, Yeshvika. What I'm going to do is I'm going to paraphrase that or précis that and give it back to Diana, who sent the message earlier, because it'll just be lovely for her to kind of feel that connection with you as well, that, you know, that her story made a difference to you and so on as well, which I think in itself then kind of makes her feel more like in that sacred space where she is now busy growing a baby and so on as well, and can really help her to hold that essence and so on. So thank you for that. Yeah. Tatum, do you want to reflect on that and something about any of your experiences, or you're going to have to come closer to the computer?
What I felt that when when she said Robin reminded me something about when she felt the fear or doubted it, she lost the connection.
Mm.
And I think I think this is the pinnacle of soul integration. It's just being reminded that that connection is there and strengthening the cords of this connection.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that was the bit that stood out for me there. And it just feels it's so fresh with me at the moment that and we Robin and I spoke about that we did want to speak about this as well, that um, we've worked on fathers as well, but really recognizing how this is such valuable work for men who are expecting
Mm.
babies, and how the role of the mother and the father are so different, and the dads haven't really been given, and maybe they have, but not so much this place to be able to hold the soul because they're not holding physically the baby. And I did recently a session with a father who was just spoke into the space post the
Come
birth.
closer to the computer.
Sorry, getting up my nostrils, everyone. um, and how he really felt the session gave him such a great sense of purpose and a unique holding of that soul and his own personal experience of holding it. So it wasn't done through the mother, it was his experience of what he was
Mm.
Mm.
Thank you. And I think I've mentioned this before as well, but so often in sessions, the baby will make it very, very clear that its relationship to both parents is equally valid and important, and that the partner uh, needs
holding.
to be included in the kind of like the energetic field, um, in order for the baby to be able to feel. It's almost like, I guess, in a way that very often we recognize that the partner's role is the role hormonally, actually. They produce different hormones during pregnancy, um, and that assist in this role of being the provider protector, and the one who creates a kind of a safe space, for the woman to birth in, and and that something of that, the babies recognize that they need that in order for their mother to feel safe, in order for them to come through and feel safe on a soul level as well. And it's a very, very, babies are so clear about it when they're speaking through their parents, doing the soul connection work prior to birth and so on, about how much they value that and how important that is for them,
Mm.
so on.
Especially if the father is there. I think I mean, sometimes the dad isn't so present, and then that request seems to not be as strong, that they need that. I mean, obviously it's an ideal, but definitely when the father is around, it feels like, can you hear me better? I did something.
Yes, you did
Yes,
something. You're
I
much better.
did something.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
great.
actually shouting now, Ted.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Can play the gong now. Okay. Yeah, just reflecting that it reflects so strongly in the male session that it's a very different energy that they are working with, um, which is quite profound as well. How the mothers are requested to move into something else, and the fathers are being shown to move into a different part of themselves, which is not the same as the mother role.
Mm, mm. And also, what's interesting to me is how often, if I work with both parents, um, the the soul of the baby, even if they're doing separate sessions and they haven't seen one another's sessions, the soul of the baby will have a quality that is recognizable, that comes through to
Very
both.
cool.
It's very cool. Yeah.
Oh, it's so cool. It's like so the same baby.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I mean, it's such a gift to yeah, just support this kind of magical unfolding, because so often you get mothers who just haven't had the time. We're living in busy times. We're living in times where it's all planned out to the last month, and now I'm gonna connect with my baby. And when it can be done in such a dynamic way, it's very special.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Um, John, I wonder if we invite you in here to let us have your uh, wisdom around being male in the birthing space. Your audio is still muted.
Well, thank you. A lot of mixed feelings because, I mean, it's 36 years now since my youngest was born, and we were doing so many things by by the standards of the day. We were Le Boyer and all of that aware, but I'm kind of envious, I think, now of what I'm listening to, and I guess also of things that I know now that I didn't know then about the nature of connection and what was possible, because I was very aware of Juliana kind of connecting with the baby,
Juliana being the mother, yeah?
the mother, yeah. And I think it just didn't occur to me that I could be having that experience too. And I mean, I so resonate with the sense of what that might have added, certainly for me, and I imagine for Yanis, the son, also. Um, yeah, I feel the sense of richness in this area of connection, as I do with so many. That there's so much that we have missed out on, all of us, or all of society is missing out on, and I'm just kind of noticing it in myself.
Mhm. And I mean, it's always just an ongoing unfolding, isn't it? I mean, I think all of us look back and go, oh, if only we had known then what we know now, and so on in so many ways. Yeah, but thank you for that. And, I think often um, there's the sessions themselves, they bring things to the surface and we go, wow, that's amazing. Wow, the baby's like that. But actually, we kind of know it already anyway. It's almost like, you meet your baby when it's born and the baby emerges, and there's this extraordinary sense of knownness, a kind of a sense of I know you so deeply already, um, that that maybe we it's wonderful to be able to do a session, because then there's this conscious awareness while we kind of doing the birth, and a real awareness of the value of the soulful aspect of birth, and how the veils of illusion drop so much through birth and so on. But at the same time, I think there's so much happening that we are kind of aware of. It's just that it's not maybe at the forefront of our conscious awareness. Would you agree with that? I don't know. I'm maybe talking to Tatum and John and anybody else, actually. I don't know if anyone wants to.
Definitely, definitely the veils open, and I find it's all sitting there. The information is all sitting there, and it's just waiting for us to actually access it. And I'm in the same feeling, getting older and having teenage children, and looking at the meal trains that are going out for these brand new born mothers, and they're getting like months of meals and freezers, and I'm like, flip, we've gone a long way since my one macaroni drop off, when that was only like 15 years ago. So so and how the support is supporting these souls coming in, it's huge. It's a huge shift in consciousness, and we're all part of it. We're all here to witness it and to hold it and to anchor it in. And what I love actually about this message that you got sent today, Robin, was she's connecting with the baby before it's even inside her. And this is so beautiful. And this is, part of all of the work we do. It's actually, it's not always just the in utero babies. It's the babies that have left us. It's the babies that couldn't come through. It's all of that that we can actually start being in communication with. And I think as a we have been in separation, humans on the planet, for so long, and we're starting to move back into alignment with our cosmic conversation. And this is actually what we're talking about here. We're talking about speaking into the cosmic field and how we have access to this field. And actually, every day, this conversation needs to be happening with spirit and what's happening in the sky and how we are relating to this relationship.
Absolutely. And that we wouldn't be able to do any soul connection work to the babies unless we initially had the relationship with our own inner divinity or higher self. It's almost like the process of the soul connection work requires that we first connect to that cosmic kind of awareness and so on. And then that's what leads us to be able to communicate with the babies as well. Yeah. Tate, I want to come back to just chat to you about some of your experiences with working with people and any stories you might have to share. But before you do that, I just want to read some of these comments because they're really great. So Jackie says, medicalization of birth has hugely impacted women's ability to trust their bodies to do what they're able to do. And I couldn't agree with you more. And it's, in a way, I kind of feel that as birth has become more and more medicalized, more and more fear has arisen around the whole birthing field. It's almost like making birth safer has made it more fearful for some reason. And that fear is the thing that more than anything kind of impacts on our ability to trust ourselves in labor and so on. And then you continue and you say this all goes back to what the indigenous tribes know and understand and have always understood: being conscious, planning in a conscious conception, pregnancy, and birth. And yeah, and that kind of sense of being connected to more than just this physiological experience of being here. I guess it depends on the definition of safety, indeed, and that we have very different definitions within a medical model, and maybe we call it a midwifery model, or I'm not sure that's what it used to be called, but these days I think it would be called something else. What is it called these days, Gail?
You mean, I mean, you get your, I think that where we're at now, we've got the extreme over medicalized, and then you've got your other extreme, which is free birth. Personally, I feel I've been a doula for 19 years. I've worked home a lot in hospitals because part of my role is that I've tried to bring the doula profession into the light. So I've had to work in hospitals, and I'm actually on a sabbatical. I've pulled back completely for 4 weeks, the first time in 19 years that I'm not on call. And that's why I'm able to do things like this, to reflect on what's going on. But I feel both extremes have got too much ego. I feel the free birth concept comes with too much ego, and I feel the Caesars comes with too much ego. And I've kind of adopted a middle road, to try and feel out both of both of both sides, because sometimes you need both sides, and then honor all sides. I think that's the new age where we're walking into science and spirituality consciousness must gel together. Yeah. That's but it's hard. It's very hard
Hard.
because I just wanted to say I see myself so much where parents come, they process, they do, and then in the moment of birth, they just give over to somebody else. Do it for me, please. I can't. The minute they're going into that deep birth zone, they stop and they fear, and the pain of what is the most powerful experience in life becomes, they miss it. Yeah. So it's to that balance. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I was about to ask you, what is your experience of kind of the tapping into the soulfulness of babies at birth? But I think you just answered it. That's a very good answer in a way, is kind of the recognition that as we go into that kind of deep, 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 transcendent kind of
Yeah.
expanded space, suddenly we
Yeah.
pull out of it because of the fear that has that impacts so enormously on birth. And as the birth keepers, like how, how do we bring, when we say how do we bring the soul back, we kind of saying that how do we bring that space back that is sacred. Yeah.
I find I just have to hold the space no matter what it turns out. So even if I'm in theater and a baby's born into bright lights, I still find that baby and I go, welcome, hello, this is planet Earth. And then everybody stops and looks at me if I'm nuts. I don't care, and try to touch the baby kind of thing, because that's all you've got left eventually. And I'm not saying, I understand the medics, they are helping in their way, they are helping, but they're actually numbing everything. If you're not there, mother gets drugged and then she misses it, but they think they're helping her because she's crying in pain.
Yeah.
It's so sure. I think that's why I've had to freeze, because I don't know. Feel like I don't know, but holding it still. Yeah.
It's a big, it's a emotionally very challenging kind of area to be working in. Jackie, I'm just going to invite, I know this is Tate is the guest, but I just want to invite you in because you've been offering so many very interesting little comments in the chat box. And we need to acknowledge and understand how everyone involved in the pregnancy and the birth brings their own stories into the energy field, and that's so true. So is there anything that you want to actually add and speak about as well?
As a pre and perinatal trauma therapist, I work with the baby's story, and that means the baby in all of us. So I work with adults and their baby story and their journey in, but predominantly I work with a lot of children. And I'm just really aware of, medical people are doing the best that they can with the skills and the trainings that they have been given. but we all have trauma layers within our own history, within our own fabric. And there's very little acknowledgement of the fact that that exists. And therefore, we are unwittingly bringing that into the energy field. So, I totally honor and respect doulas for what they do, midwives, obstetricians. But there is a real difficulty. If they have witnessed a dreadful or a really difficult birth, then that is with them, and they potentially bring that into the next situation, or but then there may be another birth that is proceeding in the same way, and that reignites their layers. So really sitting with the fact that we all need, those of us that are in this field, whatever role we're playing, we all need to do our own work to understand how we are clearing the field, and I just think this is something that is just so underplayed, especially I'm in the UK. So, we have the National Health Service here. And, there is very little recognition of this at all, and I work with these little people, the baby within that will actually come in and share that story, that they've picked up on the fear of somebody in the room. And that's made them go, oh, crap. Maybe I shouldn't come right now. Maybe they're not ready for me. Maybe whatever. Yeah. And I just want to just say Nikita Stark, when push comes to shove, you may or may not be aware of her, but she is a doula trainer also. And she's very much about, you don't just come and do the doula training, you come and do your releasing. You work with your layers, you clear yourself so that as much as possible, you go into that environment being able to hold everything and whatever comes. And I think the other thing is, and this is something that I have to honor for myself all the time, as professionals working in this field or working with anybody and trauma layers, because that's effectively what we're talking about, to try and, prevent these things from happening or manage them in the best way possible. We also need to do our own supervision and our own work, because things get triggered and we might not have the ability to hold everything. And I'm really sitting with you, Gail, in the fact that you're in a period of reflection and stillness right now in the role, which I actually think is wonderful. Because in this materialistic world that we live in, we just keep going until we crash and burn.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing your aspect of, how you hold that space. I think it's amazing that we are at the beginning of a new beginning, because there are things that are starting to shift. I mean, we have a long way to go, but there is more conscious awareness coming through. And, effectively what we're all talking about here is consciously conceiving, whatever, consciously inviting this soul to come in, and then having a conscious awareness during pregnancy so we can be conscious during birth. Thank you.
Gail, you wanted to say something, and then
I don't want to take over too much, but one thing I do notice, and again I'm going back there, is I definitely think in the years that I've been working, the influence of the doulas in the hospitals has changed things. Today, you can go and have a Caesar with no screen, with dim lights, with baby skin to skin, with the doctor saying, I want to at least give her a good birth experience, which has two sides, because then women are going to think, oh, we get a beautiful Caesar, let's not try birth. Do you know what I mean? But if you need that, then it's great to have it. And even one of our local hospitals here, they've got essential oil burners, they've got fans, they've got combs. They really almost are. They've made all the posters in the hospital are all things doulas usually bring. And I don't go to them. I don't feel challenged by it. I go, great, you can do it. I can stand back more then, because so there's definitely been change, but then it's also like over scanning, over checking, overlooking, over pathologizing, Yeah. So it's interesting. And one thing I just wanted to add to Jackie is that what I find, how I've survived as a doula, I've got to have 2 or 3 doulas who I talk to all the time, right? On the way to the birth, in the birth, I've got to give it all to each other, and that's how we survive. But as I said, for years I've watched myself landing up with hurting a back. Now the universe has said stop, and it's scary to step off the treadmill. Yo. Anyway, yeah, yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Gail.
Thank
That's
you.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I agree with everything everyone is saying. And I just want to also add to what something Jackie was saying around the value of doing our own work. And I think that that's actually kind of, I don't know, Tate, what would you say? Maybe sort of 60% or something, you know, 50% sleep.
I think I touched on it in the first 3 minutes of speaking, saying that, you know, by doing this training, it was an opportunity to just uncover. It took all of the soul integration work. We were just working on ourselves, all of us, you know, and I think all of these trainings are doing this. And I'm so for, I call it, Gail, the white fire. You know, it's the slow and steady burn that we meet every day, and we commit to doing this work every day, and it actually is the thing that makes the lasting change. And I think, like you're saying, oh, when you look back, there is change. And of course, there's all of the mess all around, but it really is changing. And it's generally not these big, massive stories that create the lasting change. It's just this everyday being together, coming together. Robin and I also, we have to support each other during soul integration sometimes. Sometimes the sessions, you know, they penetrate a place that's quite difficult to hold. And we, well, generally me, Robin, fine, Tate, they're fine. Sounds good. Did you put them all back together? Yeah, so I do. I just think it's this daily thing, and keeping out of that duality sense that we do so get caught in. I also followed this like free birth thing, and I so recognize it in sides of the same, what did someone say, you know, it's that drama triangle. And when you realize the rescuer is the victim and the perpetrator, they're all the same thing, we can create a deeper shift. You know,
Exactly.
yeah.
I like what you say about the rescuer and the perpetrator and the victim all being the same thing, because they're all feeding off one another. And actually, the purpose of the soul integration work is to expand beyond that, so that you actually have a broader view of what is actually going on, and then you can forgive
And
on
you
all
can
sides.
recognize when you're in it. You know, we're going to get caught in it, and you can recognize when you're in it, and you know, and it'll evolve. Yeah.
And then and the one other thing I just want to add is, one of the things my teacher taught me, this is back in the early 90s when I was learning about learning the soul integration work, and she's a Jungian analyst, and it's just this, and it's quite a well-known quote from Jung, who said, we do not become enlightened through imagining figures of light, but through making the darkness conscious. And really, that is I'm sure, Jackie, that's your work as well, but it also is the basis of the soul integration work. So if we want to really kind of reach out and embrace those soul babies coming in, we can do it through recognizing where we're too constricted to be able to actually really kind of meet them and communicate with them, or be kind of available to birth without fear, or support somebody who is giving birth, etc., etc. Yeah. Of course, there are times you're absolutely right for intervention to happen. I guess I would say that we could have conversations with our little ones before they experience the procedure. Yeah, I think this knowledge is growing. Is there anybody else who hasn't spoken who would like to share? Al-Karim.
Hi.
Evening, everybody. Oh, okay.
Okay. Sarah, hi. We'll come to you next,
Um,
Al-Karim.
Thank you. This is my first session, and I think that I have arrived here, and things are being sown in my life and making sense now, because and I have to go back to almost 20 years back when I first read The Mama Bamba Way. I was in Cape Town studying African dance, and then I went all around the world and everything. And I really wanted to become a doula when I was still studying dance, but then I thought, well, let me finish this and then I'll go for it. But then I forgot and went around the world, and then I found myself in the United States, and I have endometriosis, and when I was in the United States, my mother really wanted to solve the issue of endometriosis. So at 24, I ended up getting an IVF. I had a partner, and I really do remember seeing my baby when he was born seeing him for the first time and looking at him and thinking, I already know you.
Mm.
And I really wanted to be a mother. I looked at him, and his facial features really looked very familiar to me. But I had never done any work, or I think I have never done any work of connecting with the baby. But I think I've always had the intention of connecting with the baby even before conceiving. And of course, when he was inside me, I was connecting with him a lot. But to the extent of looking at his facial features and recognizing this baby, it was impactful to me. And fast forward, or going forward in my life, I can see that this child really guides me through where I have to go in my life. And I'm not from South Africa, I'm from Angola. And I came to live in South Africa again because my son is autistic, and he needed a specialized school. And in Angola, we didn't have one. So I ended up coming back to South Africa for him. And here, being back in South Africa for him, I'm again finding my way in life. I became a doula in the United States after he was born. And finding that the environment here is much more aligned to what I think, what I believe. And last week I was in a webinar by True Midwifery, which I felt like very much connected with. And now here also, I feel like my life is making sense now. And since 2018, I've also had a numerous number of people telling me, I've dreamt of you getting pregnant or being pregnant. Even just my yoga student, which was very, very interesting. And I've never dreamt of myself pregnant. But I really do feel a very huge connection to a soul. And we interact as much as I can interact with the soul, and I can feel that the personality of the soul, and it's a very beautiful and very strong personality as well. But it is very, very interesting that I have never gotten pregnant. I'm married, and all of this time I have never gotten pregnant. And I wonder if I really had to come and listen to these webinars, to these Soul Connections webinars, and prepare myself even more on a deeper level. And if this second child's soul is also guiding me through this journey, so that I am even deeper connection and consciousness to be a vessel for this soul. So that's just what I wanted to share. And I'm very grateful and happy to be here.
Lovely to have you here. Thank you for what you have to say. Are you in Cape Town, Sarah?
No, I'm in Gauteng now.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. No, I was just thinking it might be nice for you to just connect up with Tatum afterwards, but
Oh, for sure,
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
I'm in the UK, so thank you for sharing. That's beautiful. And absolutely, I mean, when you talk about already connecting in with the soul, that's a trustworthy thing. These things are incredibly authentic, actually. And when the baby is born, you'll sort of notice that it is the same baby that you are aware of being conscious, that you're consciously aware of now. El Karim.
I actually forgot I wanted to say something. Hi, everybody. Um, so I just wanted to touch on the first message that you spoke on with the lady that connected. And I always, when I land up on one of the webinars, I'm like, yeah, I was meant to be here, because I just came back from a 5-week sabbatical. And this weekend, I sat with the truth and the reality of my postpartum depression, of how lonely my pregnancy was, how scary it was, how much I changed, how much my balance shifted. Like, really, really sat with those emotions and allowed myself to process it. And I've always had this feeling that I've got either a set of twin girls or a pigeon set, or I've got 2 Irish girls coming. And I've always had this joke that I make that I'm like, none of my girls will come through until the conditions are perfect. And it just landed to me that they're like, Mom, you need to clear out your fear. You need to clear out the emotion. You need to make space for us, because we come in and we come in with a bang. And you need to be ready, and you can't be holding all of these things, and you can't still be having filing cabinets of your fear, because we coming to take over. And I was just so grateful that I'm being confirmed that I'm not insane, that it's a deep knowing, and I can trust my body, that my body is processing and doing. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for confirming that for me. That's number one. And then number two, when Tatum touched on the father aspect, and I know Robin knows that's one of my biggest, like, I'm very serious about how the father connects, because I feel we are missing that mark. We don't give them enough to be prepared for these souls to come through. And while I've been doing my work, because that's one of the things that I do in my coaching practice, is the father needs to do some things. And what I've discovered is a lot of the babies will be, as Totem said, was dad needs to prepare the outside. It's almost like mom is my inside nurturer and protector, and then dad is the outside material nurturer and protector. And what I've realized with a lot of the fathers is when you get them into that mode of get the room ready, make sure you know what's happening in the hospitals, be involved. And I've actually found that getting the fathers to speak to the babies when they have done something, like, okay, I've gone to the hospital, I know what the room looks like, I know what, they actually create such a bond that it's almost like the minute they're out, they're like, where's dad? Where's dad? I need to make sure that I can see his eyes, that I can make the connection as soon as possible, because I've got mom. I know mom. Mom and me, we know each other. But I just need to make sure that dad sees me and he knows that I hear him and I've got him. And it's such a beautiful experience to witness when they walk out with baby, or they do skin to skin with baby. And it's just, you see how baby goes, oh yes, you're here to protect me outside. You've got my back. And so I always say to Robin, whenever I come into these webinars, I'm just like, okay, I'm still on the right track, because it's so lonely. We've come so far, but it's still so lonely, and it can feel so far-fetched, and there's no textbooks, and there's no There's nothing that anybody can tell you, okay, yes, your inner knowing, that true epigenetic guide that you have is on point. And I'm just grateful that I'm being confirmed. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Alkrim. And the one thing I just want to like come back to that you said that I think is very, very valuable as well, is that kind of recognition that actually, you know, you mentioned postpartum depression as part of the journey and so on. And I was having a discussion with somebody yesterday about, we were talking about how birth is a portal. And as a portal, it blows us open, like wide, wide, wide open. And that, you know, I once came across a very lovely article that was that the name of the article was ages ago, 20 plus years ago, kind of thing. Name of the article says it all. It was called Postpartum Rainbow. And she was talking about how we think of postpartum, you know, postpartum blues lead to postpartum mood disorder, lead to postpartum psychosis, lead to all of these kind of massive kind of problems. But actually, after birth, what we experience is not just the blue, it's the green and the red and the, you know, and the joy and the like expanded consciousness and feeling like we're part of God and like everything and crying at the smallest little thing and just everything is so overwhelmingly huge because the veils of illusion have dropped, they've dropped away, and we're just like so wide open, and very often that's an incredibly difficult thing to manage. And if we don't have the kind of support that we need in order to be able to recognize what's happening, it can very quickly turn into fear because it's just so overwhelming, and that can lead to all sorts of problems. So just this kind of recognition that, yeah, just like the enormity of it all, and how the more we have these conversations and become aware of the links between all of these different things, the more we are able to birth in a sacred way and support people to birth in a sacred way, etc. And I'm going to come back to Tatum again because we've, you know, we've coming sort of close to the end, Tate, and I wondered if you want to sort of bring in a little bit more before we close off.
I suppose I just wanted to add to what you've said now, and I suppose in a way there's a great sense of vulnerability that happens once you've given birth, even though it's really empowering. It's a space that we're not used to being vulnerable, and when we as humans are vulnerable, all of our sort of anxiety things start to switch on. And I think in the planet now, we have to, even pregnant, not pregnant, male, female, we recognize that vulnerability kind of connects us to the human wound. And instead of turning to the place where we put up the barriers and the anxiety, we become comfortable in the space of vulnerability, and that becomes a place where we actually can operate from without all of that stuff starting to build in. So yeah, that kind of feels where we've landed this as a collective, yeah, for everyone, not just pregnancy or where it is in for humans. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. And then one last thing that I would just love to tap into, and I'm going to actually ask either Gail or John or anybody else, but I think Gail and John might be the two people that have more information about this than me, is that in the Judaic tradition, I have heard that there's a kind of an understanding that men have to go to the synagogue, but women don't because they have a direct connection to God, and that connection comes through birth. Is that anything either of you know about at all? John's looking very confused.
I've heard that, but I don't have any more to add to it.
Actually, I was told that a long time ago by a Rebbitzin, funny enough, that you say that, who I think I was teaching or whatever, but she spent quite a lot of time, and she said that. She said, the reason is that men have to go because women are the embodiment, men are also the embodiment of God, because I always say you need their sperm to make a baby, but the women embody that. So I have heard that, and I do find a lot of the religious Jewish women, they really do their birth. They really get into it. But what I wanted to just share with you, which is what El Karim said, that as much as we are there, my work now is saying to the woman, where are you? Show up yourself, and I think it's the birth of the feminine energy, which is what Tatum also said about being more vulnerable. I decided that a few years ago, I'm showing up in my vulnerability because I have to. But in birth as well, is saying to the woman, you can't blame everybody else. You need to try, and I keep saying to them, trust yourself, trust yourself. You know what's wrong. You know the baby's doing this. Yeah. So just to emphasize all those things as well, that it's a combination of needing help when and as Tatum said, it's not only in birth. What are we numbing? What are we feeling? It's
I can
powerful.
add to that in a way, Gail, where I've been touching on this concept of the dark feminine and that being the place of creation, and how we as women have access to this, and whatever we truly, truly believe, the men will bring to life. So,
Right.
so it actually is exactly what you're saying, this full responsibility of
Yeah.
what the women are actually manifesting, what they believe will be, men bring life to that. And so we have to be very, very clear on what we are manifesting, and take great responsibility.
Well, a meditation I did this morning was about this 888, the Lion's Gate, where the sun and Sirius are going to be in line in the sign of Leo, the lion, over the Sphinx. And it was this whole male energy, that's all male. And then it was draw in the moon and the earth as well. So this balance of this powerful, because we all are male and female within us, aren't we? Also,
Indeed,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, so it has got to 8 o'clock here, an hour and a half in. There's just one last thing I want to do. Is Susan, I see that you've unmuted. Did you want to say something before we
I'd
end?
love to, and thank you for your eagle-eyed observation of everything that goes on around. It's just meticulous and superb to see. I want to say thank you. I feel hugely relieved and give gratitude and thanks to the gods of technology that allow us to do this, because I've had such a long journey of so much obstruction and problems, etc. And I've got a 50-year history and a clear calling in pre and perinatal clinical psychology, birth psychology, and a lot of travel different countries. And I used to have to spend 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever, all over the world to get that connection to people. And it's like, this is like magic. And I'm so looking forward to meeting back in this kind of place more. So I just, as I say, I feel so relieved. It's been a very turbulent journey to get here. And I'm seeing you tomorrow, Robin, for a catch up, and can't wait. So thank you, everybody. It's just absolutely amazing, wonderful. And I have soul baby experiences, and I have a soul baby dog. So I have a black Labrador who came in as thought, came in as Image. I went looking for her. I found her, and she's asleep in the bed by the heater.
Wonderful.
So I'm in the territory, but I'm needing the guidance and the encouragement and support to go to the next level.
We have lots to chat about, you and I.
I so much look forward to it. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining. It felt like a really rich session. Thank you so much, everybody, for all your input. It was very beautiful. And so we will be, I will get Bianca to, oh, it's Bianca Peterson. I thought it was Bianca Clark who was online the whole time. So I will get Bianca to not Bianca Peterson, Bianca Clark, to upload this onto my website, and I will catch up with you all one way or another soon. Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.